Pangu raised his mighty axe, and he took a mighty swing. Hello, Panda Cubs! 小猫宝宝们，你好! Welcome back to Panda Cub Stories, stories told in Mandarin Chinese and English. This season, Panda and I are making our way through the well-known stories and some lesser-known tales of Chinese mythology. Today's story is Pangu 开天, or the sky, the earth, and Pangu. Alright, let's get started. In the beginning, all was darkness. If you were to reach out your arm, you wouldn't even be able to see the fingers on your hand. But then again, there were no hands. There was no you, and there was no me. There wasn't anybody at all. Yes, in the beginning, all was darkness. All was chaos. Now, our universe swirled in chaos for 18,000 years, 18,000年. And during that time, bit by bit, some of that chaos gathered into a glowing egg. Now one day, this egg began to glow brighter and brighter than ever before. And then, suddenly, with a tremendous bang, the egg burst into 1,000 shards of brilliant light. When the light faded, there where the egg had been stood a figure. 2 mighty horns grew from its head, and soft fur covered its body, and in its hand it held a mighty axe. This was a giant, and his name was Pangu. Now, Pangu reached out an arm and felt nothing, because there was nothing out there apart from him. And then Pangu wiggled his fingers before his eyes, but he saw nothing at all, because all was still murky and dark. And so Pangu raised his mighty axe, and he took a mighty swing. And just like that, Pangu cleaved the chaos in two. Cleaved in two, the chaos began to separate. That which was light and clear, the yang, rose and became the sky. That which was heavy and dark, the yin, sank and became the earth. Now Pangu worried that the sky and the earth, so newly formed, might collapse onto each other again. And so he put down his axe, and he dug both feet deep into the earth and placed both hands into the blue of a brand new sky. And Pangu began to push, and he pushed, and he pushed, and he pushed. Every day the sky grew 10 feet higher, and every night the earth sank 10 feet lower. As for Pangu, he grew taller day by day, stretching alongside the sky and the earth. Just like this, Pangu pushed and Pangu stretched, day after day, year after year, and year after year, the sky and the earth grew further and further apart. And finally, after another 18,000 years, Pangu stopped. He raised his head and he looked at the blue sky. Pangu sat down and dug his fingers and toes into the soft brown earth. And Pangu smiled. He was done. Now Pangu was tired. He had worked hard and for a very long time. Now it was time to rest. And so Pangu lay down on the ground and he sank into a deep sleep. And as Pangu slept, his breath became the wind and clouds that blow over our land. And as Pangu snored, his voice became the thunder. His left eye became the golden sun, and his right eye became the silver moon. His 4 limbs became the 4 directions: Dong, East, Nan, South, Xi, West, and Bei, North. Pangu's muscles became the mountains and valleys of our land, and the blood that ran in his veins became the rivers, lakes, and seas. His sweat and tears became the gentle rain that nourishes our land, and the fur that covered his body became grass, flowers, and trees. Even the fleas that lived in Pangu's fur became the animals that we see today. As for Pangu, he sleeps on to this very day, dreaming dreams of the world that he has made. Alright, Panda Cubs, that was our story for this week. Now, you may have noticed that despite all of the things the sleeping Pangu made, he didn't create any humans. So, where does Chinese mythology say we came from? Well, Panda and I will tell you that story next week. Last but not least, if you want to watch this episode in Chinese, click here if you're on YouTube, or just go ahead and see our show notes below. As always, make sure to subscribe, comment, and share Panda Cub Stories with your friends. This is the best way that you can support us. Alright, see you next week. 再见.